What's the most humiliating thing that happened to Miami this year? Was it losing to Duke? Was it losing to Georgia Tech? Was it losing to FIU? Is it having to play in the walk-on bowl against Louisiana Tech? Or is it Alonzo 1219, that snitch ass hoe? Is it him getting completely owned and dominated by Uncle Lou?
Yo, let's address the troll in the room. Uncle Lou, I'm gonna need you to step forward.
How the hell does a pine cone get his own channel? Let's talk about these bowl games. Well, I know this is the video you guys been waiting on, ain't it? The Gasparilla Bowl. Whee! The Walk-On Bowl. Man, perfect fit for that team in that game. Quick Lane Bowl, Pinstripe Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl. A bowl of Cheez-Its would probably be better than the Cheez-It Bowl. Anyway, good morning, Internet. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And in addition to that as well, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Some of them are even watchable. This one, listen, I don't know if there's anything I can do to make this video watchable considering the games we have to work with for this video, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Now, as usual, all the numbers that I use in this game, the lines, the odds, the over-unders, spreads, all that kind of stuff is gonna come straight from the website over at betnow.eu. This is the second year in a row I've been lucky enough to work with the good people over at betnow.eu on these preview and prediction videos. There's a link in the description of this video. If you click that link, it'll take you over to betnow.eu and you can get yourself signed up with an account. When you get signed up, if you use the promo code Uncle Lou, they're going to give you some free money. You can make money betting on these college football games. Hopefully you're smarter than Uncle Lou is, though. Use that code, get some free money, make yourself some extra cash this holiday season. Speaking of the holidays, today is Christmas Eve. I hope each and every one of you have a great Christmas and holiday season and New Year's and all that stuff, regardless of how you choose to celebrate this holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus. For the rest of us, Mele Kalikimaka, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, all that kind of stuff. I hope you guys have a great time over the next week or two. Enjoy some time with your friends, family, whatever it is you do during this holiday season. I hope it treats you great. All right, I think I mentioned Gasparilla Bowl, but obviously that was yesterday with Marshall and UCF. UCF blew them out, didn't they? Yeah, pretty sure they did. So we're going to start with the games that are coming up today. Is there a game today? Yeah, one game today. Then I'm going to do all the games through Friday. We got a handful of games between now and Friday. Then I'm going to do a separate video on the Saturday games, which is when really the good games really start on Saturday, including, of course, the two college football playoff semifinals featuring LSU versus Oklahoma and Clemson versus Ohio State. So we're going to start with the one today. That is the Hawaii Bowl. That's right, 8 o'clock tonight. If you're looking for something to do other than spend time with friends and family, you can check out the Hawaii Bowl, BYU versus Hawaii, 8 o'clock on ESPN. And BYU is a 2-point favorite in this one, basically a home game for Hawaii. Now, typically, I like to go with Hawaii when they're playing in Hawaii. It's a long way to travel for any team that has to play there. And you can't help but treat it like a vacation almost, I think, even during the season if you have to go to Hawaii, but especially for a bowl game, I think it is an advantage for Hawaii to have this game at home. I'm no fan of BYU. It's almost impossible. Don't listen to anything I ever say about BYU in terms of picking games. I hate BYU. They're the Fred Flintstones of college football. They're just an embarrassment. They're an embarrassment to organized sport, and honestly, they're just an embarrassment to modernity. They're just an embarrassment to modern times, BYU is. I'm definitely going to take Hawaii here and lay those 2 points in that. The Walk-On Bowl. I know it's the Independence Bowl, sponsored by Walk-On, and they're a restaurant or whatever. That's amazing. Point is, this is the Walk-On Bowl. How in the hell is Miami ending up in a Christmas bowl? I mean, it's the day after Christmas, but that's just because there's no games on Christmas. Day after Christmas, Thursday, 4 o'clock on ESPN, Miami versus Louisiana Tech. How has it gotten to the point where Miami has fallen so far? They're playing in a bowl game the day after Christmas against something called Louisiana Tech, not even a Power 5 team, in Louisiana. This is sad and embarrassing. Honestly, it's humiliating. What's worse? What's the most humiliating thing that happened to Miami this year? Was it losing to Duke? Was it losing to Georgia Tech? Was it losing to FIU? Is it having to play in the Walk-On Bowl against Louisiana Tech? Or is it Alonzo 1219, that snitch ass hoe? Is it him getting completely owned and dominated by Uncle Lou? That's a tough call to make. I'll leave it up to you guys in the comment section. What's the most humiliating thing to happen to Miami? I know which way I'm leaning. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide. But somehow, and for some reason, Miami is a 6-point favorite in this game. I'm not falling for that banana in the tailpipe routine. I don't know. I guess they installed Miami as a 6-point favorite because people are just going to look at who's playing and assume Miami is better. Casual fan not paying much attention for the last 15, 16, or 17 years, I guess. How have you... If I don't care who you are. If you've been in the ACC for 16 or 17 years and never won it, you're not any good. That's just the bottom line, period. Find me one team in the ACC who has not won the ACC since 2005 or 4 or whatever it was when Miami joined. Find me one ACC team that has not won the ACC in the last 15 years that's actually good. Find me one. You can't. Miami's a dumpster fire. Miami's not just a bad team. Okay, it's not just that they had a bad year. Miami's a dumpster fire program. They're just a trash can program. They hide behind the fact that they're a private school, so they're small. They act like they have some kind of difficult entrance standards or something. They try to compare themselves to oh, well, we're a private school, and then they name these other private schools that are like academic giants, right? That's not Miami. Literally anybody can get in there. Just look at some of the players that have come out of their football team. It's all the proof you need for that. But anyway, for some reason, they're a 6-point favorite. I can't understand it for the life of me. Miami has no support. They can't even get a campus on stadium. They have to lease one from the NFL. It's just an embarrassment going on at Miami. Miami fans think they're constantly one off season away from going 15-0. They think they're one off season away from dredging up the glory days of years gone by when they used to cheat and lie and steal to win games back in the 90s up until 2001 or 2002 when they just completely fell off the cliff. Those days are gone, and they're not coming back. They're just not. Miami fan is the new Tennessee fan. You know, for years and years and years, Tennessee fans could not accept the fact that the product they were looking at was not the product from the 90s, okay? Tennessee's nowhere near that now. Miami's nowhere near their glory days. Now, Tennessee fans, most of them anyway, have come around to the realization that changing coaches every 2 or 3 years doesn't mean you're going 15-0 every single offseason, okay? Miami fans have not waken up from this nightmare yet. They still think they're one coaching change away, one offseason away, one recruiting class away. If we can just get rid of Dan Enos. They always think they're just one move away from being back to winning things that are meaningful, and they're just not. It's not a bad year. You're a terrible program. Give me Louisiana Tech. I don't even want the 6 points in that. All this guy does is talk about Miami. The Quick Lane Bowl. Is that an oil change thing? I don't know. Eastern Michigan's going to need a player change if they have any chance of winning this game against Pitt. 8 o'clock ESPN Thursday night. The Quick Lane Bowl. Pitt's an 11.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Pitt here. Now, the ACC is not good overall, and I've been sketchy about picking any ACC teams against the spread in the bowl games this year. Set Clemson aside, though, when you talk about the ACC, it's Clemson and everyone else. So when I talk about the ACC in general terms, I'm clearly talking about teams not named Clemson. They're an elite, not only an elite team, but an elite program right now in college football. I mean, it's them and Alabama are the best two programs in college football, and it's not close. Alabama with a down year this year, but Clemson right back in the playoffs where it seems like they're at every single year. But the rest of the ACC has really taken a nosedive lately. With that being said, I do like Pitt. I like some of their pieces. I like their coaches. They had a little bit of a disappointing year this season based on, I guess, some of the preseason expectations that people placed on them. But I think they win this game against Eastern Michigan. The ACC needs some of these wins this offseason, I think. They are teetering on the edge of becoming the East Coast version of the Pac-12. They really are. Now, Clemson is saving the ACC from really becoming that right now. When you look at the Pac-12, it's been forever since they've had a team even good enough to get into the playoffs. And then just in general, they're not I don't know what the word, I don't want to say respected because I mean, I respect any college football player, team, coach, whatever, but they're not considered, I guess, by most college football fans, I'm talking about the Pac-12 now, to really be on the same level as the other Power 5 teams. And the ACC is teetering on that cliff. Clemson is keeping their head above water, but the ACC needs some wins in bowl games. And I know what you're saying. Well, it's Eastern Michigan. What really will that prove? Well, that won't prove a whole lot, I'll be honest. But when the bowl season is over, I think the ACC as a whole needs to be able to look back at the bowl season and go, well, at least we went, 6-1 or whatever. I don't even know how many ACC teams made it off the top of my head, but I think you understand what I'm saying. They need to win these games, not lose them, because they're going to lose some of the better bowl games. So they got to be winning these. I'm going to ride with the ACC here. Give me Pitt and lay that 11.5. Military Bowl, salute. Shout out to all you armed service members, both active and retired. Hope you guys enjoy the holiday season. Those of you that aren't able to spend time with your family this holidays, I can't imagine. It's just terrible. Hope you stay safe. Hope you get home soon if you're not home now, and I hope you get to see your family, your friends, your loved ones. Thank you for everything that you do, and as far as your service and your sacrifice. Uncle Lou never had the balls to join the military, so salute to the ones of you that did. That being said, no military academies in the Military Bowl this year, but we do have a pretty good game, I think. North Carolina versus Temple, 12 o'clock ESPN. We're on to the Friday games now, so noon on Friday. North Carolina versus Temple. North Carolina's a 4.5-point favorite in the Military Bowl. North Carolina had a pretty good year this year, I thought, all things considered. Now, they tailed off a little bit at the end of the year, but if you guys remember, they brought Mack Brown in this offseason to take back over as head coach there. Now, of course, he coached at North Carolina many moons ago before leaving for quote-unquote greener pastures, which is kind of funny, Texas, right? And he did guide them to a national title back in the mid-2000s. Since that point, though, Texas has really fallen off a cliff. And if you were to ask most people right now who's a better team, North Carolina or Texas, I think most people would lean towards North Carolina. Texas was very disappointing this year, going 7-5 after going, 9-4 last year and claiming they were back. They're back to losing 4 or 5 games a year like most people knew they would. Shout out Tom Herman. Stay out the titty bar, sir. More film study, more recruiting, more developing players. Less making it rain. Shout out Tom Herman there. Back to North Carolina, though. Started off the season red hot, right? Beat South Carolina as an underdog. Beat Miami. Now, it turns out Miami was a trash can, but still, the point is North Carolina started out pretty well. I like their quarterback. Is Sam Howell. Is that his name? I think it is. If you look on the 2020, the early favorites for the 2020 Heisman. Now, listen, I'm not here to tell you Sam Howell's going to win the Heisman. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, okay? But if you pull up any articles or lists or Vegas odds of early 2020 Heisman favorites, first of all, there's a lot of names on it. Way more names on a 2020 Heisman list now than there will be in September, October, or November of next year once these teams actually start playing. But Sam Howell is on those lists. Again, I'm not here to tell you he's going to win the Heisman. I am here to tell you, though, he had a really good year as a freshman, and expectations are going to be pretty high for North Carolina next year, I have a feeling. not high like could beat Clemson or win the ACC, but I do think expectations are going to be 10 wins for North Carolina next year, and the goal of maybe a New Year's Six bowl. I think North Carolina has some momentum right now and is headed in the right direction, especially with Sam Howell coming back. Anyway, that's for next year. Temple had a good season this year too. There was that game at SMU about a month or so ago, ended up being like the biggest game at SMU since the early 80s when they were buying players. They were treating college football like it was NFL free agency. Got the death penalty. But anyway, they were a really good team. Were ranked for large parts of the season. Again, a team that sort of fell off at the end. But these are two pretty good teams that had two pretty good years. I think both these teams exceeded expectations this year. North Carolina's a 4.5-point favorite. I'm going to ride with the ACC again here. If you would have asked me before the bowl season started, before the matchups were announced, any of that kind of stuff, what I thought about the ACC's chances in bowl games, I would have said not good overall. And here I am going with the ACC in their first two games, but I really like North Carolina here. Motivation a lot of times plays a huge factor in which teams choose to show up and really give their all in bowl games. And I think North Carolina, it's not like North Carolina was in a position to make a New Year's Six bowl at the end of the season and it fell apart and now they're disappointed. They're just happy to be in a bowl game. But the same can be said for Temple, I think. But anyway, I'm going to go with the Power 5 team here. Give me the Tar Heels, lay to 4.5. The Pinstripe Bowl. I think this was played in Yankee Stadium, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. Be freezing cold. Michigan State versus Wake Forest, 3:30 ESPN on Friday. Michigan State's a 4-point favorite. Okay, I'm going to get back to sort of my original thinking about the ACC here. I picked the ACC earlier in this video twice against non-Power 5 teams. I'm not doing it here. I know Michigan State had a disappointing season, especially offensively, and I'm kind of surprised they kept the coach around. There was some smoke at the end of the season that they may be looking to make a change there. Been very disappointing offensively for Michigan State the last couple of years. You think Georgia's offense was bad this year? And I agree. Georgia's offense very disappointing this year. Georgia's offense was like the 2000 version of the St. Louis Rams compared to anything Michigan State has put on the field in the last 2 or 3 years. It's just been embarrassing, going all the way back to the year they lucked out and made the playoffs before getting shut out, not scoring a single point. And since then, their offense has just been in a tailspin, hard to watch. Now, defensively, they've had a pretty good team the last couple of years, including this year. I think they had a good team this year, especially the front seven against the run. Was it week 1 or 2? They held a team to negative 70 yards rushing. Yes, you heard me correctly. Negative 70 yards rushing. That's not easy to do. They're playing Wake Forest. Now, Wake Forest, ACC team, but they were, what were they, 7-1, 8-1 late into the season or something like that? They had a big game with Clemson, and people are like, oh my God, could this be the game where someone actually challenges Clemson? No, Clemson blew them out like they weren't even there. 3:30 on Friday, Michigan State, 4-point favorite. I like Wake Forest. I like their offense, but I like Michigan State's defense more than I like Wake Forest offense. And the competition, Michigan State has played some great teams this year, having to run through that Big Ten schedule. Wake Forest has played Clemson, and that's it. That's literally it. The ACC as a whole is just absolutely terrible. I think that's going to help Michigan State here. I'm going to take the favorite. Give me Sparty, lay to 4. All right, now this might be the best game of the ones we're actually going through today, but the Texas Bowl, which is played in, Texas. Oklahoma State versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M's a 7-point favorite. Comes on 7 o'clock ESPN on Friday. Old rivalry game. I don't know how much of a rivalry it was, but of course, Texas A&M used to be in the Big 12 for years before moving to the SEC. Oak State, of course, still in the Big 12 states to border each other. Recruiting battles all the time. These two teams recruit the same areas, obviously. This will be an interesting one here. Texas A&M 7-5 this year. Look at the 5 teams they lost to, though. Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Clemson, and was it Auburn, I guess? So lost to 5 pretty good teams. I mean, Georgia, LSU, and Clemson, those are 3 of the top 5 teams in the latest playoff rankings. Lost to Alabama, they're 13th. And they lost to Auburn, who's borderline top 10 team. So they lost to 5 really good teams. Now, I'm not trying to convince you Texas A&M's a great team. Listen, if you want to be a great team, you got to beat some of those top 10 teams, right? People want to clown Georgia all the time because I'm a Georgia fan and I get that. And yes, we got blown out by LSU. Yes, it was humiliating to lose to a 3-win South Carolina team at home. Embarrassing, sad, and pitiful. Don't look to me to make excuses for that. You ain't been here very long if you think I'm an excuse maker. for my Georgia Bulldogs. But what else did Georgia do? They beat a top 10 Florida team. They beat a top 10 Auburn team. They beat a top 15 Notre Dame team. So the point is, if you want to be considered a pretty good team, okay, fine. You lost to LSU and Clemson. Those might be the best two teams in America. Great. You still lost to Georgia. You still lost to Alabama. You still lost to Auburn. So the point is, you got to beat some of those teams if you really want to be considered a legitimate top 10 or top 15 team, which Texas A&M clearly is not. But the point is, I still don't think they're as bad as your typical 7-5 team, right? I mean, those are 5 quote-unquote good losses. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, another typical year in the Big 12. Oklahoma State seems like they have an offense almost every single year capable of beating or competing with almost anybody they play, yet they somehow manage to lose 4 or 5 games every single year. You can count on it like clockwork just about. They got the mullet as the coach. He's a man, but he's not 40 now. He's, 47 or 48 now? Hard to believe that was 8, 9, 10 years ago. The whole, I'm a man, I'm 40. If you guys remember that, that's the head coach of Oklahoma State. Of course, Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, year 2. I like Oklahoma State's pieces on offense. What is it, Chubba Hubbard or whatever the guy, whatever his name is? I think this will be a good game. I'm an SEC homer. I don't try to hide it. Give me the Texas A&M Aggies. Lay them 7 points. Holiday Bowl, sponsored by... What the hell were you thinking when you decided to keep Clay Helton? Yeah, that's who it's sponsored by. Southern Cal versus Iowa, 8 o'clock FS1 on Friday. Iowa's a 2-point favorite. Southern Cal makes the decision to keep Clay Helton, a real head scratcher. They're in the 80s in recruiting. Listen, somebody's going to have to sit me down and explain this to me like I'm in 2nd grade or something. How is it even remotely within the realm of reason that Southern Cal could have a recruiting class ranked in the 80s? I mean, Florida, Georgia, Texas, California. I mean, those are your recruiting hotbeds. Louisiana and Texas. How in the world can you be Southern Cal and recruiting in the 80s? Listen, Southern Cal going 8-4 this year may end up being the worst thing that's happened to Southern Cal in a long, long time. Because if that's why you kept Clay Helton, then God bless you. You should have thrown everything, including up to and including, in addition to that, the kitchen sink at Urban Meyer to try to get him. For whatever reason, Southern Cal decided to extend Clay Helton. It makes no sense to me. Now you're sitting there with a recruiting class in the 80s. You look a couple of states up, you got Mario Cristobal at Oregon, who's recruiting like an absolute madman. They're going to be a problem for everybody in the Big 12 immediately, and could be a problem for your elite teams outside of, I think I said Big 12, I meant Pac-12. They could be a problem for your elite teams outside the Pac-12 here pretty soon if they keep recruiting the way they are. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Oregon's going to be the favorite in the Pac-12 for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. Southern Cal headed in the wrong direction. Iowa's a 2-point favorite. Not much offense from Iowa, but a pretty good defense. They win or lose a lot of games by 7 to 10 points where, they score 24 to 17, 17 to 14. 10 to 3 they lost to Penn State, didn't they? So a lot of those kind of games. Southern Cal's got some talent, especially at the skill positions. They played 3 or 4 different quarterbacks this year due to injury. Seems like every single one they put in was more than capable. They've got NFL wide receivers. Now, I question their defense and some of their offensive line pieces, but I have to believe, regardless of how bad I think Southern Cal is overall compared to some of the other good teams, or maybe bad's not even the right word. I mean, I guess I don't think Southern Cal is a bad team. I just think, considering who they are and where they are, they're vastly underperforming, both in recruiting and on-field performance and wins and losses. I just tend to believe they've got to have enough athletes and playmakers to beat an Iowa team. Iowa's favored by 2. I'm going to roll the dice here and take the underdog. Give me Southern Cal and those 2 points. All right, I think I said in the beginning that an actual bowl of Cheez-Its may be better than the Cheez-It Bowl. I'll let you guys decide, but here we go, the Cheez-It Bowl. Friday night, 10 o'clock, 10:15 on ESPN. Washington State versus Air Force, and Air Force is actually a 3-point favorite. I'm going to roll with a military school. It's not that I hate Washington State. I don't have a feeling about Washington State one way or the other, but I do love the service academies. Mike Leach, yes, Mike Leach is a weirdo. Yes, he has some of the greatest press conferences, not just within the college football world, but in the entire world. If you've never gone to YouTube and fell down the Mike Leach rabbit hole, do that as soon as you get done watching this video. Just type in Mike Leach press conferences or Mike Leach weird and enjoy your holiday season watching hours upon hours of Mike Leach making little to no sense during press conferences that he gives where he talks about Bigfoot and aliens and conspiracy theories and literally anything besides football. I do think he's a pretty good offensive mind. Obviously, you look at some of the offenses he's produced, not just at Washington State, but before that at Texas Tech. Can't argue that. A lot of people keep wondering, like, will Mike Leach get an opportunity at one of the bigger schools? His name has popped up in association with a few different SEC schools over the last couple of years that have had openings. I'd love to have Mike Leach in the SEC. You guys know, like when Butch Jones was coaching at Tennessee, his press conferences were must watch. I like having coaches like that within the SEC who have entertaining press conferences, and Mike Leach would definitely fill that need. We'll see if somebody ends up giving him a shot. He's been a head coach in the Power 5 forever, and he falls into the Dan Mullen, Jim Harbaugh category. Can't win a division. At some point, for people to keep believing you're quote unquote a great coach, you got to win something, and that starts with winning a division or your conference or a New Year's Six or a playoff or whatever. Mike Leach has been unable to do that. This is a hard game for me to figure out in terms of who's going to win because of motivation factors and different things like that. So because of my affinity for the armed forces, I'm going to roll with Air Force and lay those 3 points. All right, before I finish up with this video here, again, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Melikilikimaka, Festivus, whatever it is you celebrate. I hope you have a great time this holiday season. Be safe, hug the ones you love, and cherish the time that you have with your friends and your family. With that being said, let me end this way. Uncle Lou is a man of his word. I made a bet, I guess, during the Georgia LSU game. It wasn't really a bet because I didn't stand to win anything. Georgia could have won 100-0. I wasn't going to win anything either way. Basically, someone said, hey, if Georgia loses to LSU, you should buy one of those LSU SEC championship hats that they'll put out. I have a Georgia one from 2017. In fact, I think I was wearing the Georgia one during a live video when this came up, and somebody said, hey, if Georgia loses, you should get rid of that Georgia SEC championship hat and get you an LSU one for 2019. And I said, okay, I'll do that. Uncle Lou, man of his word. Go Tigers.